Hi, good afternoon, everyone. And this is Rimjim. I am the host for you for this session. I represent the IT/ITES Sector Skills Council NASSCOM, which is the standard setting body for technology skills in India. So the agenda for today's session, as we already communicated and you all know, is that the value and the need for online assessments, which is surely going to be the new norm for education. So before we begin, friends, let's set few ground rules. I know this webinar is going to address most of your questions, but just in case if you have any more questions and you want to ask us, please write it in the comments section and we are sure to address it once the session is over. So after the panel discussion, we have scheduled 15 minutes specifically to answer your question and answer. Now, globally, as we all know, there are some 1.2 billion students who are right now out of classrooms. The collective disruption that now we are witnessing in a school, work, play, along with the heightened awareness of what it means to value relationships, is adding fuel towards sparking an online education movement. While the digital transformation has been widely accepted, we also need to focus on online assessments to complete the cycle. So while you're all learning online, please be sure that you have to be certified online as well. And that's where the need for online assessments is coming up to. So with all the major high stake exams like CBSE, JEE, NEET, the need to have a credible online examination system has now jumped into focus. So we at SSC NASSCOM, we have been conducting the online proctor-based assessment for the last few years. But the rate of adoption in the last 6 months across most of the schools and colleges has been different at different level altogether. Hence, we thought that it was best to come together with our assessment partners and to talk freely on the subject that really bothers you. What's in store when you are going for auto-proctored online assessments? So let me introduce our panelists, Mr. Ajit Kumar Padi, who is Director Operations with SSC NASSCOM, Mr. Arush Dhawan, National Lead for Institutions, and Mr. Dhruv Mathur, Business Head for Skilling Vertical of Aon Assessment Solutions. A brief about Aon Assessment Solutions. So Aon Assessment Solution is one of the premier assessment consulting firms supporting 4,500 plus corporate clients in 120 plus countries with talent solutions throughout assessments. In India, Aon not only supports corporates, but also works extensively in education and skilling vertical. So now I would request Mr. Ajit Padi to help us set the context on the value and importance of online assessment in present times. Mr. Padi, over to you.
Thank you, Rimjim. Thank you for the introduction. And thanks all my colleague panel members for taking time to talk on this very important topic that is an online proctored assessment. And it has got different forms for the last couple of years. We'll talk on that. I'll set the context, and of course then Arush and Dhruv, my colleagues from Aon, will talk more in details. So before I start, let me take you back to 25 years back when I started my IT/ITES industry journey. After I passed my engineering, and I came to Hyderabad from a village in Odisha to start my career in IT/ITES. So what happened is that at that point of time, the kind of skills that was more prevalent in the industry was around Microsoft and Oracle certifications. And once upon a time, there was a company called Novell Netware. They're very famous in terms of networking and operating systems. So, as usual, the way that we currently do the trainings, we used to do that, the instructor-led trainings, in the classroom. Then to pass the industry recognized and specifically the Microsoft or the Novell Network, we used to go to a designated center, okay, that, there is similar version that's still there. We'll talk on that what we are currently the kind of assessment that we do. But for the around 25 years back, that was the only way that, if that you want to get yourself certified on a particular skills or particular certification you want to do, then you have to go to a designated assessment centers. These are mainly run by the Prometric, which is one of the biggest in terms of assessment at that point of time. So it was kind of a computer-based assessment, CBT mode, or you call it, this one. Because what the major difference of that and currently what we do is that it was a localized way. So all the question bank, all this one used to stay in that center, okay, in their server, everything used to stay. But with the advent of technology, with the clouds and everything, what we are currently doing, which is SSC NASSCOM, are the background to that SSC NASSCOM journey on the online assessment that we are conducting. We have conducted close to 10 lakh assessment, in the last 5 years, which is pretty much significant in terms of the numbers of the online assessment that we do. So what we are currently do is that, the proctor-based assessment. That means that the student or the learner, after his or her trainings is over, is ready for assessment. That what we do is that, we send someone to that center. So that means it's a second phase, that where it used to be a one center based, where all the learner, irrespective of where they get themselves trained, but they will go to a particular center, pay the assessment fee, and sit for that exam or the assessment. Now, what in the last second phase, what has happened is that the invigilator, or we call it the proctor, goes to a training center. That means assessment has reached to the training center in terms of, if there is internet connection, if there are computers and it complies to the basic needs or the requirements, then the assessment can be conducted where the learner is learning it. So that means that the proctor will go to a training center and a training partner and do the assessment. And for that, what we need is that, it should have an internet connection with a good connection, and it runs on a 2G as well. And we have also enabled that on the mobile also, but generally on the proctor based, we don't do that one. We try to make it on a computer or on a laptop. So that is what the second phase, that is what currently running. Okay, while in the meantime, that what we are talking today is all about that retail mode. That is that, sitting at home, not you need to go to that one, because that is what the need of the hour is currently, correct? That currently under the COVID, under the situation we are all in and across the world. So what we see nowadays is that we have to ensure that the learner can do the assessment sitting at his home or at her home. So that, okay, that, that the maintaining of the norms, of the current health norms is there. And of course, there are a lot of other benefits, which I think Dhruv and Arus will touch upon as they take every one of us through the complete cycle. So that is the I think the next evolution. This is the third phase, if you ask me. Even though, like Rimjim touched upon the specific topic of the JEE or the NEET and all this stuff are having, which is that fast form, where the student will go to a particular designated center to do that assessment. But you need to understand that has got some reason behind that, because on a particular day or on a few days, that close to 8 to 10 lakhs, this one is the students are appearing for the assessment. But what we are talking about is that it is customizable, individualistic, specific time of the day or time of this one 24/7. That how do we enable the evaluation or assessment of a particular test taker. And that is why that we are nowadays focusing majorly that how do we enable that. And that is where the AI based proctored assessment, that one we are doing, and we are doing it for quite some time, but not in large scale. But for example, for the trainer assessment, so what we do is that for the trainer assessments, we encourage them to take the assessment from their home. They don't have to go to any center, or they don't have to come to any other assessment agencies that are sitting at home, they can take the assessment. And that's what we're doing it for last 2 years. And for the last 6 months after the pandemic started, we are working with various ministries and enabled that for the students of few of the academic institutions on specific initiatives. So close to 50,000 the students have already taken the AI proctor, that is auto proctored assessments from the comfort of their homes. So I would say that, okay, that no, this is what we are trying to say that, okay, how we can push this, and all of us are pretty much aware that, the how the universities are currently. I know that many of the students are joining the various universities, engineering colleges based on the remotely proctored online assessment for that particular college or for that particular universities that they have conducted, and that giving the admission based on that, and it is pretty much successful. And now, of course, in the new the education policy also, there are provisions of such kind of final assessments or maybe semester assessments to be done on that one in circumstances beyond the control. Or it may be, I strongly feel that in future maybe many of the exams will be, remote proctor assessments. Of course, that there are some guidelines. If that is not followed, there are consequences which we'll go through that in the next 45 minutes. But I think this will be really be a game changer as we go along in this one, because the virtual learning environment is going to stay here. I think all of us know by now that how it is moving. So I would not take much of time. So I thought of giving that the context why we're conducting this webinar for all of you to understand that what the auto proctor is, what is the remote proctor is, and how we are trying to enable that with our partner, the Aon, on these aspects. So thank you very much for taking your time and attending this information and critical webinar. And now I'll hand it over to the Aon team to take us through the details on the AI proctored assessments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ajit, for articulating it so well. Something that for past 6 months we have been coming up, and also taking us through the journey, how it started from the pen and paper assessments to computer-based assessments, and now the next level where it is AI-based online proctored assessments, which is surely going to give a lot of candidates an opportunity to take the best of certifications, because now they can take it from the comfort of their homes itself and they don't have to travel to longer distances. Now I will request Arush and Dhruv to share their perspectives and to how the acceptance and response to online assessments has evolved drastically over the last few months, because they are completely into the system. So Arush and Dhruv, now over to you.
Thank you so much, Remji. Thanks for the introduction. Ajitji, thank you so much to you as well for setting the context and taking us through the entire journey from last couple of decades, how the exams have evolved and where we are right now. Let me start by talking about the current situation all of us are finding ourselves into. Is it something new? We are talking about virtual assessments take from home assessments today. Is it something new that has been introduced over the last 3-4 months? I don't think so. This was something that has been existing. We were doing computer-based assessments for past few years, and even take from home assessments, AI proctored assessments were there, but probably not so much traction was there. What has happened over the last 6 months, what we've realized that because of COVID, the continuity in the education across the globe took a hit. I've just put across some stats for you. As per UNESCO, in April 2020, almost 94%, which is like 1.6 billion students out of total 1.7 billion students across the globe. That's even more than India's population. Their education stopped. What was the reason? Because the universities, the schools, the colleges, they were not digitally ready to take a hit, to take a hit against such a big pandemic. We are not only India, across the globe, people did not have provisions for conducting digital classes, online exams, and because of which, what we saw, the moment COVID hit, every school, college across the globe stopped working. The numbers improved over a period. Uh, let me show you a bit on that. If you can see, just focus on the purple part here. You see the developing nations are still struggling with schools and colleges closures because the digitization here is still taking place. It's still not that evolved as compared to the developed nations. So I guess that is what has precedented us to talk about virtual assessments today. It's not that the infrastructure or these facility or this technology did not exist in a pre-COVID era, but it's just that COVID has helped us realize that this is something we need, and this is something which is the future. So that even if once we are past this current circumstances, we'll be able to take on any kind of challenge which is there and ensure that students' learning does not take a hit. Colleges took a hit. There were no classes happening. The exams got delayed. So many things happened. Uh, in fact, to take a cue from our NEP, New Education Policy, National Education Policy as well, it talks heavily about digitization right now. Uh, the government has keenly focused on ensuring that the schools, colleges, all the higher education institutions become digitized. They have the sufficient infrastructure available with them to conduct online classes, to conduct online exams, everything. That's what the focus of our today's discussion, as Ajit ji has also pointed out. We'll keep our focus more on the virtual exams, online assessments, and we'll keep the online classes for some another time. Let me take you through some of the stats from what we have observed over the past 6-7 months, ever since the take from home exam started because of COVID. Now, some of this data is crowdsourced, and some of this data is based on the 2.2 million assessments that we Aon has conducted over the past 6-7 months. One news item I guess all of us would have come across, that where UGC published out of 900 odd universities in India, 65% of them are either planning or have conducted their semester exams online, which is a pretty huge number. While the deliberation was going on in Supreme Court about what to do with the final exams, this was one of the surveys which came out by UGC. The number may vary somewhat, but it was somewhere around two-thirds, if I remember correctly. Now, one of the major aspect, what we have observed whenever we discuss with our clients, that comes around infrastructure availability in the country. People in rural areas, many times our partners ask that students won't have access to laptop or a desktop, which is where we realize that mobile phone is a necessity if these assessments are to become successful. Out of the, as I mentioned, 2.2 million assessments, we have done 35% of them, as in the 1 in every 3 student is taking the exam on a mobile phone, on a smartphone. 48% of our students belong to tier 3 or rural areas. I mean, we've seen students writing exams in Bhilai, even in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. I always take this example for one of our clients. So almost every other alternate student is who's appearing for these exams, at least on our platform, and I can safely say it will be the similar stats would be available across the country as well. Every alternate student is taking exam from a rural area. The other aspect talks about the bandwidth, the internet availability. What we have observed, even a basic smartphone with a 2G connection is sufficient enough to conduct these online exams in a safe and secure manner. Obviously, your device needs to be suitable, your camera needs to be working, but you don't need a 100 Mbps connection. Even a 2G connection is sufficient for conducting these exams. So the reason I covered these 3 points was essentially to answer the queries, because I know whenever we discuss, the very first question comes across the infrastructure availability with the students. That's why I thought, let me start with the stats so that it puts rest to many of the questions that people have in their mind while switching from a pen and paper exam to an online exam. And finally, the best aspect, what we have observed, till last year, we were having center-based exams wherein the average appearance ratio across different exams used to be 70 to 80%. because students had to travel to centers. There were certain problems. Their bus got delayed, their trains got delayed. They could not reach the center on time, and they used to miss the exam. And in general, it was a hassle traveling. Uh, but now, given the students have been able to write the exam from the comfort of their home, we've observed 90%, more than 90% appearance ratio across different exams we have conducted. This includes colleges, admissions exams, semester exams, and corporate placements exams. So that has been a tremendous one major change what we have observed in the last 6-7 months. Just to conclude, just taking a cue from the last point, now just imagine every student who's writing this exam would have taken at least 1 hour to go to the center and then come back. We have saved that 1 hour at least across these million students. That is the kind of savings, the number of man hours are getting saved by switching to pen and paper center-based exams to a take-from-home exams. Now I know the next question that comes up to us, can we ensure, now you've given answer to our infrastructures questions, but how do we ensure that these exams are conducted in a safe and a secure manner? How do we ensure the credibility, integrity of the exam is maintained? Let me ask Dhruv here. He's worked with multiple corporates, multiple government statutory bodies and conducted exams for them. Let me ask him what has been his experience. Dhruv, if you can take us from here, what has been your experience? What are the typical challenges the clients face? What are the different upsides you have seen of conducting online take from home exams across different partners you have handled? Over to you, Dhruv.
Okay, thanks a lot, Arush. Okay, so I think Arush can just click on the next slide. Yeah, thanks a lot. Okay, so basically what I will talk about in the next 2 slides is I'll give a more example, more from taking 2 live examples that we had in the last 6 months. And I guess everybody now is talking about digitalization. NEP talks about that. We have to go online. But I think what is the end outcome? So, I mean, companies using it, or government institutes using it, colleges using it. What is the end outcome they have seen when they go through, let's say, a bunch of candidates going through these examinations? So what we have done here is we have just put out few data points as well. And I will try to answer this more from a perspective of how an institute or a corporate goes through the entire journey, what challenges they were facing initially 4 to 5 months back. And absolutely, we have gone through a long way in the last 5 or 6 months. But I will try to just focus more on the outcome side of it as well, so that everybody who's listening around can also relate from an end objective as well, and not just from the niche of how an online assessment goes around. So this one quick example is for a premier statutory body in India. Absolutely high-stake examinations are what they conduct. Majorly 3 challenges. If you look at the left side of the slide, majorly 3 challenges. So for them, till now, for the last 20 years, they have been doing OMR-based paper and pencil assessments on the ground, booking 150 plus centers across the country, asking their candidates to be there on the ground and stuff like that. Their leadership, though, was planning to shift to online training in 2022 and was planning to shift to online assessments in 2023. But thanks to COVID, the entire plan of virtualization just has brought down from a 5-year goal to a 3 to 4 months goal sheet. And they were able to conduct online training as well as online examination immediately in the 4 or 5 months. So, but absolutely a drastic shift for them, because they were not just shifting from an online center-based exam to a take-from-home examination online. They were shifting from a paper and pencil OMR-based exam to a absolutely take-from-home virtual examination. So that was one. Second, of course, the most critical part is they want every candidate to participate, and nobody they want to lose out because of internet or because of hardware. And most importantly, while any candidate is going through the examination, they want the candidate to go through from a good experience perspective. The internet should work, everything should fall in place as how earlier they were conducting examination. And again, the most common question that comes across in the mind of any examination body is that, hey, we are doing it in a take-from-home scenario. How can we control cheating? So this was another thought in their mind. And then most important, because it's a high-stake examination, security of question papers remains really absolutely critical. As with government and premier institutes, there's a lot of RTI cases that can also come around. So all these things are very common, I'm assuming, are very common critical points that must be in the mind of institutes, colleges, universities, corporate stakeholders. What happened with them is they did close to 15,000 take from home assessments in the month, in one single month itself. All these were AI based as well as remote human proctored based assessments. And I will talk about AI based and remote human proctor based assessments in a while, but just to make it simpler, there's an AI based robot monitoring the assessments and doing everything. Similarly, there's a human based proctor, similar to how traditional happens. I will use the word traditional while we were doing assessments on the ground. But a traditional human based proctor is also there monitoring the assessment. So it's like a magic of a mix of both a robot as well as a human monitoring the assessment throughout the session. So that's second. What else became critical to ensure that hey, no malpractice happens, the security is being maintained. And this is again a common, you will find it common across most of the assessment partners, is that they use a SAP-based tool, which is a secure assessment browser. And just to make it simple, with this particular tool attached to your system, you will not be able to move across. So candidates will not be able to go out of the system and try to cheat. So with that happening, what we found interestingly was that 78% of the candidates appeared from mobile. While we have seen the average data to be somewhere around 35 to 45, but it depends on the kind of examination and your target audience. So 78% of the candidates actually appeared on mobile. 99% of these candidates were able to clear the examination the same time, same limit that the examination body has set. For examination body, they saved almost 70% of the cost. So earlier they were going through a test center, they were putting invigilators in place, there was a lot of traveling, there was paper and pencil. So of course not that environment friendly in that way. So a lot of operational effort that goes on the ground while you conduct that all was saved, not just operational bandwidth, plus also the cost that they were doing. And then of course the result. So if you look at any other government or a PSU or a similar exam, you will find results coming out. Few takes 10 days, few take even 20 days, and the candidates are holding up for that. With this, the results were with them within 2 days. So the results are instantaneous. I mean, you mark it, map it, and then you publish it. And that was a timeline that they saved throughout the entire process. And what has interestingly come out of this particular work for this organization is that while the experience went well for them, they have also decided to go for another round of examinations again online. Though they were earlier, for the last 20 years, they were doing it manually in paper and pencil. The December examination that they're planning, some 3 lakh assessments, is what they're planning. Even if that volume, they're again game that hey, with the positive response from candidates, they wish to continue in the same format and going forward as well. So yeah, this was with this premier statutory body. I can take another example of a corporate examination and how campus happened. And I think before we speak about this, so Aeon, as we are neutral body to these. We have been doing online assessments center-based for a while, even with AI-based proctoring. We have now, of course, in the last 5-6 months, have done a lot of take from home virtual examination. So we are a neutral body to this, but interestingly, a lot of facts and insight has come out while we conducted these projects, which we thought are very interesting in the way that will turn around the entire education ecosystem. Okay, so this is an example of one of the leading IT firms, and though they have been doing on the ground campus-based hiring for their graduate hires in an online format for a while, and the candidates were also quite familiar with the online platform. The challenge and the key interesting part for them was to shift from an on-the-ground campus to a virtual campus. And when anybody shifts from a virtual campus, they have to think of all ways. For a bigger IT firms, candidate engagement plays a very, very critical role. For them, participation of candidates plays a very critical role because there's a team out there sourcing, and that becomes really critical for them. So candidate experience, full participation, ensuring that, hey, anybody who joins the organization has not gone through any malpractice, have not cheated, they are getting the right candidate, they're getting the right fit, the candidates, their offerings are the same one. So those career priorities are absolutely very vital and critical for any corporate who do a campus-based hiring. Again, similarly for them, I think this was within a time span of 5 days, some 131,000 assessments happened. Uh, Again, in a safe examination browser with virtual proctoring as well as remote proctoring. So both things again combined. The client again saved 25% of their physical proctoring or the campus-based work that we do, and a lot of bandwidth as well. Assume a situation where in usual days, there are a lot of campuses happening. HR team used to travel out. They used to plan that accordingly. There were centers. Then you have proctors in every centers. You have to arrange, do some mock exams for ensuring that systems are in place. All that went virtual. So there was nothing happening on the ground. And interestingly, 95% registration happened for candidates, and they appeared. So basically, a huge shift from a sourcing perspective, because earlier there were a lot of integrities of candidates traveling, being there at the time of examination. Now it was virtual, it was at their convenience. The application that came, a lot of people who participated. Uh, Another point is gamified and adaptive assessment. I think this is a lot of trend is what we are seeing, and we also believe that this is going to be huge in the times to come, because as things goes virtual, clients prefer to have more gamified and adaptive assessments where simulations are running, so that the chances of cheating just boils down to zero. So this is one trend that we are seeing, which is fixing up. And the most importantly is the 5-month campus process that this organization used to do. Assume the time, bandwidth, effort, resources, cost that goes around it. All that was completed in 5 days. So huge shift, very interesting facts for us, very interesting learning for us as well while we went through all this journey. But yeah, absolutely drift in the education ecosystem and the corporate and institute ecosystem that we are seeing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dhruv. I think those were some really good insights coming from a management perspective. So I see this virtual assessments from two. There are two different sides, obviously, to every story. One, we are seeing it from the perspectives of the decision makers, the management of different corporates and colleges. Then there is the other side, wherein the students come in who are actually taking this exam, who are actually who are the final consumers. So Dhruv has very well covered the aspect wherein we saw it. How did these online assessments help the decision makers improve their processes? Now let's talk a bit about how does it look from a student's perspective. Obviously, students are taking the exams from their home. That's one comforting factor. But there are certain other queries which we always receive, that what should we do? Is there any different preparation we should be doing before appearing for the exam? Let me just play a very small video for everyone here, and that will just briefly summarize what are the best practices students should be taking care while appearing for these exams. Now, these are not generic guidelines; they are specific to any placement opportunity. The guidelines may change very slightly from a different type of exam. So let me just play that for everyone.
About what to consider while taking an online assessment. First, when is the best time to take an assessment? Since it's completely online, you can take the assessment whenever you want. However, make sure to choose a time when you feel good and well rested. Make sure to avoid any interruptions or distractions. Turn off your phone, close any apps still running on your device, and inform others not
let
to
me just
disturb
pause
you
here.
while
Like
you are
it
taking the
mentioned,
test. Once you are ready to begin,
the exam can be taken at any time. Now, this may vary from different exam. Like for an admission or a semester exam, there will be particular slot that will be given to the student. So it may vary for that. But generally, what we observe when it comes to placement assessments, corporates generally tend to give you a few days or hours time to appear for the exam.
be aware that you can't stop until you finish an individual no longer than 15 minutes. After you've finished one test, take a break before moving on to the next one. The duration of the whole assessment varies depending on the number and types of tests the hiring company has selected. Your invitation should contain information on the approximate length of the full assessment. You usually have several days to complete all of the tests. However, it's important to check the deadline for the final submission to make sure you don't miss it. Keep in mind, the amount of time you need to complete all the tests has no effect
Now,
on your
I
scoring
guess
results.
students,
What do you
most
do
of their
when there is a
queries are on
technical
this
issue?
aspect. So
Don't
all the
panic.
students who have joined
Sometimes-
in us for today, they can focus this aspect for the next 10, 15 seconds, what this video will be talking about.
The browser can crash or your device may freeze, but this isn't a catastrophe. Contact the company who invited you to the assessment and they can reset the test for you. How will the organization know you did the assessment on your own? Well, be aware if the organization finds out someone other than yourself has done the test, you will be excluded from the selection process. Requiring to repeat modules from the online assessment. If you haven't
So yeah,
completed the test
that
before,
video talked about few of the best practices, but as I said, they may vary from exam to exam, and these are some of the thoughts we had put around wherein we see students doing certain activities, or we ask students to restrain themselves from. Uh, what I suggest everyone is, every student whosoever approaches me directly or through the organization, that is there any additional preparation that we need to do? So there's no additional preparation like a normal exam you used to prepare. Just prepare that. You need to appear for the exam from home. What you need to ensure is almost every take from home exam will have a demo test. Please ensure that you have gone through the system, the process thoroughly, and ensure that your system, you have understood the process, your system is working fine, you're meeting all the requirements so that you don't face any glitches during the exam. Even if you're facing any glitches, there's no need to panic. Just you'll have backups, you'll have numbers available. Just contact the examination conduction body. They'll be able to help you out. Now, these are some of the technical aspects I talked about. Couple of don'ts, which I always say. We saw there were too many controversies going on around the online exam, the final year exams. Students should, if you take my recommendation, students should only focus on preparing for the exams well, and not get dragged into such discussions, which in the end doesn't help anyone. We saw all the exams getting conducted and all the exams were conducted smoothly. So these are some of the do's and don'ts what we have observed over the past 6-7 months of experience. Let me ask Dhruv's experience as well. Like he talked about from the decision maker's point of view. Dhruv, any thoughts, any suggestions to candidates who are appearing for these exams from your end? What kind of majorly talking about the sanctity and credibility of these exams?
Yeah, thanks, Arush. Yeah, so I think talking more from a candidate experience, and I think recently I had one. I visited one of my cousin, and he was also from an engineering background, getting training from home, examination from home. So I asked this question to him that, hey, you have been going for online examination. How has been your experience? So he said that it's good in the way that you are sitting in your home, sitting in your room, having a cup of coffee and giving the exam in pajamas. So interestingly, I think he said that this is like a vague dream, a good vague dream coming true, has actually happened. And though there has been, of course, a lot of debate about how this should actually go and how convenient it is for candidates, but I think there are multiple point of view. And what we heard was that, hey, while candidate doesn't have to travel, so that level of stress will not be there. They don't have to see intimidating invigilators and proctors during the exam, not all the tensed faces that are around 100 students sitting all around and giving the examination. So a lot of stress in that way has gone down, interestingly, for candidates who are appearing from home. That has definitely happened. But I will also cover a bit about how, from a decision-making perspective, maker's perspective, and again from a candidate's perspective, and try to solve that ambiguity around here in terms of what is AI. So I think artificial intelligence as a term has been used tremendously. I think every article you read, every document you see, I mean, you will find such word wherever digitization is talking about. And I'll just try to answer that in a more layman's language so that everybody who's listening to this can understand whether he belongs to an institute or whether he's a student. I'll try to just put this out in a very layman language and just make it show so that every candidate understands that. So point one, and the most important point, if you are a candidate who is genuinely appearing for for examination, either it is for hiring or for training, with no wrong intentions, just don't think about anything, just don't worry about anything, just go for your exam, you'll do well. So that's one. But there are few things which happen sometimes unintentionally when a candidate is, let's say, giving the exam from home. So for that, we have noted down these 6 points. So there are multiple other points also and multiple other features also, which you will find there in the market. But these 6 are the most critical ones and is a must while any examination body wants to go for an online or a take from home examination. So for candidates, one, your face will be captured. So this is something for face detection and ensuring that impersonation doesn't happen. So throughout your examination, your face will be captured. And any candidate who is thinking that somebody else can come down in between, again, that will be a bumper. Violations could capture that, and that will not be possible. Second is multiple faces. Again, there might be a case where somebody from the family is moving around at the back, and then multiple faces are detected. That's what Arush was also recommending, that the candidate should be at a quiet place, preferably in a room, so that multiple faces doesn't get detected. Again, for decision makers, I think this is for examination bodies, there will be a violation score that comes out from multiple face detection as well. Third, and again, a very critical point, if any candidate is thinking or that, hey, they are giving the examination and nobody is monitoring that, that's absolutely wrong. So it's a robot out there at the back end, full-time monitoring is happening, as well as nowadays a lot of companies and institutes prefer a human-based remote proctoring. So you have been being monitored throughout the examination. So please don't ever feel that there's nobody who is monitoring you. Fourth, again, a lot of this kind of a question comes from institutes that, hey, if somebody is using a mobile phone or let's say somebody is using a book, how can we ensure that that doesn't happen? So again, the violation score captures that as well, and that again becomes a part of the violation scale as well as, so some people call it a violation scale, some call it a credibility index. That score finally comes out there as well. Another very, very common question that comes across to us is we don't want candidate to switch windows. We don't want him to go to any other monitor. So this app basically freezes the screen for the candidate. He can't go out. There's the only chance for him to go through the assessment and complete the same. So that again will not be possible. And the last is a multiple login. This again becomes a query which is quite common in the sense that there might be few smart candidates who wants to give their login ID password to somebody else who is either sitting in the same room or somewhere outside, do team sharing, all those things. Again, system detects that. Again, that will be monitored and the candidate can be logged out. So as a request, these all 6 points covers the larger gamut of it, though there are multiple other points as well, and we can take that during the question answer round. But for example, a lot of times questions comes around that, hey, maybe somebody is not sitting at the back end, somebody is, let's say, sitting on the left or right and trying to answer, help the candidate. How can we solve for that? So then there's high sound volume detection and similar things, and that can basically capture, and again comes in a violation score. So yeah, so these are few basic mandatory features, and this is just a snapshot for everybody to relate to it. If you'll see on the right side, you will see a candidate appearing for the exam and with mobile phone. So for us, for the examination body, for clients, this is absolutely clearly visible. So any candidate who comes under a high volume sound detection or comes under possible internet failure, at the back end, the monitoring team and the assessment partner with the company is working with, and this is, I'm assuming, is common across most of the good assessment partners there out in India. This is again visible for all the candidates, and that's the magic behind this, and that's something that I personally adore a lot, in the sense that while traditionally on the ground campuses assessments were happening, assume a situation where an invigilator is sitting, he has a tablet in front of him, 40 candidates are giving the exam, and he know, okay, candidate 12 or candidate 14 is trying to cheat, and through this way. Never happened, right? So, but this all is possible with AI, where candidate is appearing for the assessment at home. AI anyways is monitoring, and a remote human is also monitoring the candidate. I hope this just makes the AI part, which is the buzzword nowadays, comparatively more simpler for candidates and for the examination bodies. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Dhruv, for detailing it out. So I guess we've covered both the aspects. We saw it from decision makers' point of view. We also saw it from the candidates' point of view. What are the do's and don'ts? Uh, I'll just conclude everything on this slide rather than getting. I mean, these points we have discussed over the last 20-25 minutes. We all have realized the major comfort from the virtual exams is that you can take it from any time, anywhere, and any kind of device. You need not travel to a particular center. All those hassles of finding a center, reaching there on time, all that goes away. And that, as I mentioned, it saves a hell lot of cost and time. For every student, like need 15 lakh students appeared for the exam. So just imagine every student would have taken at least 1 hour to reach the center and come back. So that's the kind of cost and time saving we are talking about. Scoring, Dhruv mentioned, we can generate instant scores. And it becomes very important in a current scenario where COVID government is coming up with new guidelines, social distancing guidelines, that we all stay at our homes and practice social distancing. I think virtual exams are going to be very prevalent over the next 6 months. And as Ajit ji was also pointing out at the start of the discussion, that even after COVID, we expect many of our clients, and what we discuss, many of our partners, they'll continue with the virtual take from home exams even in the post-COVID era. So I guess what's important here is, first, if I have to summarize for students, uh, you should prepare well for the exam, just like you were preparing in a pre-COVID scenario. You should not try and indulge in any kind of malpractice, because everything is getting recorded much more than while you were sitting in a computer in a center-based exam where there was just one invigilator and there was nothing to follow up after that. Uh, from a decision maker's perspective, you'll find these technologies across various companies. What you need to ensure is the exam is scalable and the integrity is maintained across the exam. How can we do that? As I mentioned, all the entire student's footprint during the course of the exam is available during as well as the post exam, which was not the case in a pen and paper or a computer center based exam. So now, even after the exam, you can take a call whether the exam was conducted, whether a particular student indulged in any kind of malpractice. So you have much more data points available to ensure the sanctity of exam. So these are some of the points I think we thought we'll cover here, and that's it from our end. Rimjim, over to you for to take it forward from here. I'll ask everyone who's participating to send us your questions. We'll be happy to answer a few of them.
So thank you, Ajit, Arush, and Dhruv. That was really something very interesting, especially the shift, the way you have explained the shift, how from pen and paper we shifted to completely auto-proctored assessments. And also thank you, light as to how the infrastructure and the logistics part is being covered over here. Because we just see the online assessments happening, we don't realize that how much was going on behind it when the pen and paper assessments were happening and how good it is doing to us. So we have some very good questions from our audience, and I'll take it one by one. Ajit, there is one question from one of our audience, Mr. Sambudh Das, and he's asking how we could educate trainees for online classes. Basically, is there a need to specially change the mode of learning and teaching for online assessments?
Yeah, so training, I think that's pretty, important way that we're trying to change as well. That's why there are a lot of initiative has been taken. Of course, it is based on the sectors, based on the ability, based on the applicability of the training. It has happened, but we are lucky that in the ITS industry, we are looking at 100% self-learning training, happen, and we have seen that one. Okay, for example, part of our initiative, we're trying to see that how we can bring the emerging technologies for the skilling, as for the reskilling or upskilling, that how it can be done, and we have started a portal on that.
So Ajit, then I believe we have already answered Mr. Sambudh Das's question to this. Dhruv, we have another very interesting question. So can the candidates move to any other window during exam? Is it possible, because we are giving it online? So is it possible that we can change the browsers? What will happen if the candidate does that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think again this is a very commonly used question asked. So no. So the answer to this is simply no, because SAP-based tool is what we use, which is called a secure assessment browser. What this does to the candidate screen is it freezes the candidate window, and if he tries to log out, he have to log out from the test, and he'll not be able to move to any other window. In that case, the examination body or the institute or college can and be rest assured that the candidate has not copied any answer from Google or has tried any other way, because his screen is freezed during the entire examination.
Thank you, Dhruv, for that answer. So there is another question which is equally interesting. Adoption of technology both by faculty and students, that is to come out of the comfort zone. So how can this be ensured? Because how will the faculty be ensured that this is happening seamlessly, and how is the student comfortable taking online assessment? So how can the comfort be ensured of both the parties?
So let me take this one up. I think that's very important question, and something we've been observing quite a lot. Students complaining about the faculties that they are not that tuned enough to take online classes or online exams, and then similar vice versa coming from the colleges, that students are indulging in different sorts of inappropriate behavior. So I think I know the negative things gets blown out of proportion a lot. The positive things we don't talk about much. But essentially, what we are talking about are two different aspects, as I mentioned during the presentation as well. Faculties, I agree that it's a major shift for them. In fact, a few months back, I myself wrote a blog on this aspect that while the COVID pandemic hit all of us, everyone across the globe got time to adjust to. We were given time that we can work from home, we can do meetings virtually. All of us had some time to get acclimatized to the changing scenario. But unfortunately, faculties were not given a time. They were asked to shift from a pen and paper physical mode to a completely digital mode in a span of days. And that's a huge shift. Again, going back to the fact which I mentioned initially, that the it's not that the technology or the infrastructure was not available or we were not planning to move in that direction, but it's just that what we were planning 3 years, 4 years down the line had to be done within a span of, let's say, 3 or 4 weeks. So for faculties, what's becoming more and more important is they need to get more and more accustomed to these virtual tools, taking classes on getting more accustomed to Microsoft Office tools, and ensuring that the students are engaged in the classes. And same goes with the virtual exams. When the exams are getting conducted, now they are not invigilating the students in person. They are doing it sitting on a computer. So they need to understand how the AI proctored exams work. What are the different flags that does the system raise? As I was mentioning, that students need to ensure that they go through the mock thoroughly. Even the invigilators, we recommend all of our partners that the invigilators also understand the system thoroughly so that they don't have any doubt while the actual exam is going on. So a definite shift is there, but I think that's possible. And what I would say, over the last 6 months, all the faculties and college authorities have done a tremendous job to make this shift possible. Otherwise, in April, everything was going haywire and we would not have been in a position to start the colleges again. From a student's perspective, I've already touched base. They need to ensure that they've clarified all their doubts in the mock or demo exam. If your exam provider or your college is not arranging a mock, please ask them to schedule a mock exam so that you get accustomed to the technology or the tool and you test your systems beforehand, so that during the exam you don't face any problem. And even if you face, don't panic. There are backups available. Everyone has backup available. Your answer, your time will not go for a waste. You will be able to submit your answers and you will be able to get the marks for the particular exam you're appearing. So that would be my answer, Rimjim.
Thank you, Arush. That was quite detailed and I hope the question is answered. Now we have another question from Pallavi Verma Mishra, and she's asking what can we do to adopt online assessments? And she's talking this from the infrastructure point of view. So basically she's trying to ask what are the minimum infrastructure requirements that she should ensure assessments.
Yeah, Rimjim, so I think very basic answer to this. She just needs a basic smartphone. So of course it works on laptop, tablets, computers. If a candidate has all of this, great. If not, then just a mobile or smartphone will work from an infrastructure perspective. And when I say this, again, while the candidate is giving it from a smartphone, the webcam is already enabled. So if she is doing or giving the exam from a laptop or a tablet or a mobile, that's nothing to worry about. For computer, of course, a webcam will be required. And then a very basic internet connection. And when I say basic, it's always good to have at least 1 Mbps. Speed is what we recommend to any candidate. Though the tests and AI-based proctoring, everything can even work at a 512 kbps kind of a scenario. But it's always good to have 1 Mbps. And when I say 1 Mbps, this is something, if somebody has a 2G or a 3G network, and you can just check that whenever you are coming for exam, you just have to go to Google, say speed check. And that will, your mobile internet, it will actually show you what is the speed that you are currently through. So these are the few basic checks. If you have this, there will be no problem for any online examination. Hope that answers, Ramji.
Yeah, thank you, Dhruv. It does answers the question. And Pallavi, I believe that answers your questions as well. We are quite close to the time. So one last question, Dhruv, just in continuation of what you said. So how do we verify the candidate, the verification process of the candidate? Can you just give us a brief as to how it happens?
Yeah, I think this has again been an interesting shift, moving virtual. So I will talk first about how it used to happen traditionally. So in a traditional scenario, let's say if it's a campus-based or a corporate hiring happening, candidate used to come to the campus. They used to show their government ID proof to the proctor or the invigilator out there, and the candidate used to be allowed for appearing for the examination. Now with this online, candidates being remote, ID proof not being there, and again invigilators sitting remotely, how do we do that? So again, and a lot of companies in India again has this verification tool, and again it is very simple. Candidate again doesn't have to think about it. For a candidate, he just have to ensure that whenever he appears for the assessment, he has his government ID proof ready with him. So what usually happens from a candidate point of view is while he tries to log in and start the assessment, he will be asked to enter his government ID proof. Once he enters the government ID proof, at the back end, at Invigilator's window, Invigilator will see candidate face also, which is live through the webcam, as well as the government ID proof. And this is something very similar to how a traditional assessment used to happen. The only difference is both things happens in the same screen. For the Invigilator, he clicks on approve, and the candidate will be logged in. Very interesting point that comes to my mind while a verification process gets developed virtually and in a more authentic way is the problem of proxy, which is like one of the largest problems in the country and goes in all kind of examinations, whether you do government or whether you do private. That will be solved because you might not be able to monitor it immediately in a traditional way, but if you have that data remain in the server, remain in the system for the examination body, then I think that can just do wonders in my mind. Hope that answers, Rimjim.
Yes, Dhruv, it definitely does answers. And now I won't be able to take any more questions, audience. Thank you so much for the active participation. We ran 2 polls in between while the discussions were going on, and the results are very, very interesting. So one was the adoption of online assessment by the institutes. And interestingly, 44% of the candidates replied that their institutes have already shifted completely to online assessments, while
Okay.
said that it's partially shifted. I mean, 50 to 70% of the assessments are happening online. The other part was that what is the challenge that these test taker believe will be coming up in the online assessment? So obviously, it is the connectivity. So 18% said connectivity, while 36% said familiarity with online assessments. But now I believe after this webinar, after this session, most of them will have some familiarity and now they will not face that kind of jitters while they are going to appear for the online assessment. Thank you, Ajit, Dhruv, and Arush for making this so interesting. And thank you, friends, for attending the session. And we will continue to bring on more such discussions. Please do share your insights with us. As a response to COVID-19, NASSCOM for the first time is offering a freely accessible website for learning content. So this site provides a host of free and paid NASSCOM certified courses as well. So taking this further, skill certificates have been made accessible for everyone who wants to set themselves apart in the world of technology. And also, they want to upskill themselves. So the details will be shared in the comment section. Please do follow us. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Closing the session now.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone,
Bye.
for your time.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Indeed. Bye.